Thank you for joining us for this special presentation. My guest is Brad Kreitz. Brad, good to see you.
Hey, Matt, it's good to see you too. Thanks for having me on the show today. Looking forward to talking about some posters.
Our pleasure, and we are very excited to have, I believe it's 35 of them up and about in the gallery here at Elder Gallery at Nebraska Wesleyan.
Yeah, that's, you guys are displaying a wide variety of posters that we've produced over the years, and very excited to see the gallery and see how everything looks.
It was interesting to try to sort of like place everything in its own way too. I'll kind of be interested to compare notes with you about my curatorial challenge with it and how you originally decided to curate the Mad Duck collection, as it were.
Absolutely.
Now, what was the first Mad Duck poster?
The very first Mad Duck poster was Reanimator by Adam Rabelis, and this was the 36 by 24 landscape poster with the glow in the dark effect. Yes, that was our first official release. It was officially licensed, and I was working with Brian Yuzna on that release, and was really excited to start off the company with that poster. It's still one of my favorite posters we put out.
Now he's done the other one too, the Frankenstein homage, and we have both in the show.
Yes.
What was the progression on Frankenstein on a Reanimator? Like, did you keep doing them over and over again? Were there gaps? Was it like, we're going to saturate the market with Reanimator?
No, there was definitely gaps with Reanimator. I spaced them out. It's one of my favorite movies, all-time classic, movie from the 80s, 1985, and mixes the comedy with the horror and a lot of parallels to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in that movie. And so, while we did space them out, I did want to make sure that we did the Frankenstein homage poster. It just seemed like a perfect property to do that, especially with the parallels with Frankenstein, with films. But to answer your original question, yeah, we spaced them out over several years. And when we were wrapping up the license, we put out Bride of Frankenstein as well at the very end of it. But I worked with a lot of great artists on that series.
So with the one piece, you have it many different variants, including the VHS packaging, which is the version we have in the show. Yes. What was the decisions there, apart from the 80s nostalgia that still perpetuates and saturates the horror market?
We worked with Stan and Vince on that one, and they did a tremendous job of illustrating the characters, and the likenesses are just right on point on that poster. But we wanted to do something a little bit different. We focused a little bit on the serum there in the middle of the poster, and we also drew, of course, all the likenesses from the film and everything. And when it came to actually releasing it, really happy with the artwork. Ended up doing a couple of foils. We did 2 colorways, a regular and a variant, and we did 2 foils for each colorway. And the VHS variant that you guys are displaying in the show was actually an exclusive poster to a small group of collectors that had joined the project at an early stage. And so it was never, at least initially, was not available for other people to buy publicly. So it was a very small run that went to a select group of collectors that backed the project early.
Okay. In terms of the variants too, like Mad Duck does more variants than I think anyone.
We like to do variants for sure. We like to put a variety of product out there. We have our customers that just, they write to us frequently, asking for foils. Hey, can we get foils? And we'd love there to be a foil for this release. And we certainly don't do foils with all of our releases, but we do foils with a lot of our bigger releases, and just to satisfy the demand of our customers for sure.
Me included in that.
I know you're one of the fans of foils. I know that. That's for sure.
We like, I think about a year or 2 ago, we actually had an exchange about foils.
Yes, yeah, we did.
I've been a fan of Mad Duck for a while, and I've collected them for a while, and I appreciate the variety, like the glow in the dark, the foils. What would you say the most challenging variant process has been that you've done for one of these?
Most challenging variant process was probably the Citizen Kane wood poster we did for Martin Anson. Anytime you're printing on wood, it presents unique challenges. And, just to get the saturation right with the inks and to make the poster look like the JPEG or the original, PSD file. With wood, it's kind of a toss up to get it right. And I was really happy with how it turned out, but there was definitely some trial and error with that variant.
Also a gorgeous poster. I was wondering, because we talked to Matt Ryan Tobin about his velveteen blue velvet.
Yes, the special velvet variant. We used a unique paper for that one. It is like a foil, a blue foil, but it does have a velvety feel to it, and it just worked out perfectly with the movie. And we ended up, we did a regular version of that poster, and then we did the same variant design, but printed it on the velvet foil, and then also on a rainbow foil, just to show the sparkles that Matt had added to the image. And both of them really look amazing. The velvet variant was very well liked, and certainly did not last long for us. That one sold very quickly.
You have two, right? You have Kevin Tongs, we also have in the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Which one was first in those two?
The Tobin one was done first.
Okay. So what was the decision to do a second Blue Velvet?
I'm a huge fan of the Blue Velvet movie. It's my favorite David Lynch film. I've seen it, of course, dozens of times, but I'll say after doing the Matt Ryan Tobin poster, wanted to do one that featured more likenesses, and went out and actually contacted the estate of Dennis Hopper. And so I cleared his likeness rights for Kevin Tong's poster. And Kevin really put out just a tremendous image. I mean, very different than what Matt did. They're both beautiful posters, in my opinion. But what Kevin did there with the Hopper likeness as well was it was tremendous.
Yeah, we have them on pillars. They're spaced about 5 feet apart in the show. And it's interesting. I mean, just being able to see the variations and the ideas behind it is really interesting with those two, because we also have the reanimators on a wall together.
Oh, okay, great.
Just to be able to sort of take it in. And so it is interesting, just the differences that each artist was attracted to or not attracted to with the themes.
Oh, I certainly agree with that.
So what draws you to do a poster? What are some things just that's the poster I want to do?
Well, there's a couple things that draw me in. Number one, as you can undoubtedly tell, I'm a huge horror fan, and I do like to tackle properties that haven't been done maybe quite as often by other companies. It's not to say that I don't do properties that have been done but many times by other companies, but I do focus on a lot of more obscure stuff, such as Mario Bava posters, or the Night of the Demon, Curse of the Demon set we did recently. And so the number one draw for me is my own personal interest in the movie. It's not just about, hey, what poster is going to sell the most. Obviously sales are important, don't get me wrong, but for me, it's all about passion too. I want to do movies that I personally love, and I really love to do movies that don't have a lot of alternative movie posters out in the market.
You have the Rear Window poster behind you.
Yes.
I earned that poster. It's in the show. Jonathan Burton. Juan asked me a question today about that poster, and I didn't have an answer. How does one obtain Grace Kelly's likeness?
That's an interesting story right there. So it was not an easy task to get that likeness. That's
yeah, sure. We figured it was.
The likeness is owned, by the Grace Kelly Foundation, and it's a whole board of folks that have to approve permission to use.
Now, is that in Monaco?
No, it's actually in New York.
Okay, it's in New York.
It's the Princess Grace Foundation, and they do a lot of charitable work and things of that nature. But several emails went unanswered on that one over time. And I really wanted to make this poster, and I really wanted to use the Grace Kelly likeness, and I was very persistent about it. And so I ended up cold calling them a few times, and getting the right person on the phone. And she was interested in what I pitched to her. And after, coming up with a sketch, she took it to the board, and the board approved the likeness rights, and I was able to use it for the project, for the poster.
Okay. Now it's by far one of my favorites. It's also one of my favorite movies, so that doesn't hurt.
It's such a tremendous movie. Absolutely.
I vacillate between that and Mulholland Drive.
Both classics, no doubt.
Yeah. And I find them to be very similar movies, actually.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, I mean, Lynch owes so much to Hitchcock. And speaking of Hitchcock, we have quite a few Hitchcock pieces in the show, apart from the Jonathan Burton. All very different.
All very different.
Jack DeRue's we have two of, with the Vertigo piece and the
Rope. You got the Rope variant.
We do have the Rope. So we have three pieces by Jack Drew. That's right. I love that Rope variant with the champagne topper taking the place of the noose.
It's a tremendous design what he did there with the champagne topper and the noose. I really love that design, that aspect of the design of the poster. It's what Jack did there. I mean, it was a license without likeness rights, and what Jack did with just showing the scene there, because obviously, Hitchcock presented the film Rope as one continuous shot. It wasn't actually one continuous shot. It was edited, but it's, it appears that way to the viewer. And, in the movie without the likeness rights, just seeing the social gathering going there with the legs and the champagne topper with Rope at the bottom of the poster really makes for a stunning image.
Yeah, I mean, it conveys quite a lot of that story. So I have to beg the question now, is Jimmy Stewart's likeness just impossible to get?
It's not impossible to get. It's actually been, I'm sure at some point in time, I will do a poster with Jimmy Stewart in there. I'm certainly a big fan of the actor. It's been artist choice, really, quite frankly. I haven't pursued it due to design choices.
I mean, the artists I've talked to have worked with you, and it's been quite a few at this point, I think 5, have all said of you that you go out on a limb to get the likenesses.
I appreciate that they said that, for sure. And I will say that, personally, I will go that extra mile. I want to make something different. And, it's not easy to get the likeness rights. Some are easier than others, but I will put in the legwork and the effort to get the likeness rights. It's something that I think at the end product justifies the journey.
With that in mind, is there a likeness that you've wanted to do so far that you haven't been able to?
I'm happy to say at this point in time that there is not one. So far I have succeeded in all my quests for likeness rights, which I'm thrilled to say. I mean, that's a big knock on wood, right?
Right.
I mean, it might be the next project where this happens or whatnot, but so far very successful. And, I'll bring up, for example, you can see the Drive poster behind me that I did with Paul Mann. Not a horror movie per se, but a lot of likenesses in there. And each one of those actors had to approve their likeness. And there are, 7 likenesses in that poster. Each actor had to approve it, sign off on it, and all the actors, of course, got copies of the posters. So that was an interesting project. That's no doubt about it. I was thrilled that it all came together as it did.
Speaking of likenesses, I think you probably have the biggest Vincent Price oeuvre out there.
Yes, I would say that I do. I'm a huge Vincent Price fan. One of my favorite horror actors of all time. I love all of his AIP films and really love his entire body of work. I'm happy to say that I have a really excellent relationship with Victoria Price, and she is very, very supportive of the posters that I put out. She loves to get copies of them for conventions that she appears at and things of that nature. And I'm very fortunate that we have such a really great relationship. And there's a lot more Vincent Price to come. A lot.
Excellent news. There is some good news. I love the for my 2 cents in the year, I love with the Petri and the Francavilla with the blood splatter. I do love those.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a big fan of those myself too. I think Petri did an amazing job with The Bat. I mean, The Bat is a movie that there's not a lot of 24 by 36 posters out there, but the movie, you know, was a public domain movie, so a lot of people had ended up grabbing it. But you know, I think what Anthony delivered was different than anything else that was out there, and I think he just did an absolute, you know, tremendous job with the design of that poster. I was really happy with it.
I think those two make a really good set too. In fact, that's how I have them displayed at home.
Well, they do, and I'll say, you know, talking about the Francavilla Mask of the Red Death, there is a companion poster for that one in the works, and that's
Okay.
for Tomb of Ligeia.
Okay.
And when Francavilla designed and worked on Mask of the Red Death, he had already planned the layout for Tomb of Ligeia at the same time. So those two are also going to look really cool displayed next to each other for fans.
Is there a Mad Duck version of House on Haunted Hill in the horizon?
You know, we had the one that we released with Aaron Lee out there, and we have that available as a regular and a glow in the dark variant. We're not currently planning another House on Haunted Hill poster at the moment, but you never know. It's such a great movie.
Okay.
May revisit it down the road.
I don't know why I need more than one poster of a movie, but apparently I do.
We all do, right? I mean, that's that's the nature of collecting for sure, especially your favorite films.
Yeah, I mean, I some I have way too many. I feel like yeah.
I feel your pain. I mean, I'm
well. I mean,
myself,
you own the
yes.
candy store, man. I don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah.
In terms of the Vincent Price stuff, you say you have a really good relationship with a daughter. How did that come about? How was the decision to go down that route with? I mean, you said you had a really keen interest in Vincent Price.
Yeah, so you know, I grew up watching Vincent Price films. You know, when the advent of DVD hit the market, that's when I kind of went crazy and got every Vincent Price film I could from the horror genre. And then, of course, that continued into Blu-ray. And don't believe I have a 4K Vincent Price movie yet, but I'm sure that'll be coming here in the near future. But just, you know, always a huge fan. It was the AIP films that really turned me on to it. And I wanted to put out posters for those AIP films. You know, there really was hardly anything out there. And so I reached out to Victoria. It took some time to make contact with her. But once we did, you know, we had a great conversation. Aligned on goals about what I wanted to do, and she was on board with it. And you know, it's a relationship now that's been going on for about 4 years. So it's I'd like to say that she's happy with what we're doing, you know, and you know, we're going to continue to work with her for many years to come.
I'm now waiting for like the Adam West Batman, the egg character that he played.
Yes, that would be amazing to do.
Some sort of portrait with him lovingly caressing an egg or
something. Maybe one day. I mean, you know, that's a character you don't see represented anywhere. So
not at all. I mean, Shag did one a couple years back for Comic-Con. That's about it that I can think of for that character.
Yeah, it's
but it wasn't just him, it was all of them.
Yeah, you know? It was all the villains, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's definitely not something you see very commonly. Nor do you see that. I mean, it's interesting because Vincent Price does have this like still cult following to him. We actually showed the Bat last year during Halloween.
Oh, great, yeah.
Because I love Agnes Moorehead in that movie too.
She's tremendous in that film. Absolutely tremendous.
Yeah. It's funny because I mean, the ending is kind of meh of that film, but like the film itself, good stuff.
The ending is pretty sudden, you know.
Yeah, it's like we ran out of money. We've got an ending now.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing, you know, Vincent Price is well, Agnes Moorehead, of course, is a big name, and Vincent Price, you know, was a big name as well. But you know, Vincent Price really wasn't the feature character of the movie The Bat, although you know it gets marketed as such, right? You know, but not really the feature of that film. But you know, I'll always be a fan of it. Definitely.
No, it's a great film. I just sure. And I mean, it's actually, I mean, it's not as campy as you would think if you say Vincent Price and Agnes Moorehead.
I agree. It's really not campy at all. I mean, it's you just, you know, people need to give it a chance. I think there's a lot of people out there that just have never, you know, gotten around to seeing The Bat, quite frankly, you know.
Check out Nights of Horror from last year.
There you go.
We will promote each other's stuff at this point.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
So I'm trying to think. I'm moving actually through the gallery in my mind. So you've got The Day the Earth Stood Still. Was that the first one?
The day you're thinking of The Last Man on Earth.
Last Man on Earth.
That's all right. It's all good.
It's been a day.
No, it's no problem. So The Last Man on Earth was the very first Vincent Price poster we did, and we worked with comic book artist Tom Mandrake on that piece. It's the only alternative movie poster Tom Mandrake has ever done. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tom, but he was a legendary comic book artist, and to me, most prominently, his run on the Spectre in the 90s was just unbelievable, and that turned me on to his work back during that time. So I was thrilled to work with him on an alternative movie poster, years down the road. And Last Man on Earth is the one that we did, and we did a few different variants of that one. There's a foil available for that one as well, and turned out great.
Yeah, the foil's the one we have. I think we have most of the foils that you've produced, because I'm obsessed with the foils.
One thing I'll also mention to you, Matt, is that there is another Last Man on Earth poster that is complete right now. It has not been released yet. It has not been made available, but the art is done. And that is, it's a poster by Elvis Dead. And first time I've worked with Elvis Dead, and I'm really happy with how the poster turned out. And I look forward to releasing that in the coming months here.
So you're just being such a tease right now.
I'm dropping new tidbits here.
I know. I'm just like,
yeah,
doing the math in my mind. How many I've spent on posters. Yeah, so we have our Vincent Price section. We talked about, we have our Hitchcock section, and then behind that is the wall of Reanimators. We have on our sort of like main wall, I don't even know how to really characterize it, apart from like human beings being awful to each other.
That covers a lot of ground right there.
It does. And I mean, I've intermixed society in there. So I'm going to start with society, because that's another Matt Ryan Tobin piece. And
yes.
When we talked to him, I accused him of it being a Ray-Ban commercial from the late 80s.
Yeah. What was his response to that?
He agreed. He could see exactly what I meant by that. I was like, because I grew up in a beach town. And I was like, it reminded me, like at first glance when I saw it, of those beach town things, but that screams 1980s to me as well.
It does.
And so I was like, it's not an insult. It's just, if you look at it, that was my first impression. And then you get like a Dali kind of impression with
you get the Salvador Dali take on it. Obviously, that was the inspiration for the piece.
Well, then I went one step further. I thought of Pasolini, because I always do for whatever reason. And I thought of the Busby Berkeley butt scene in Pasolini's Sallow, where they judge the different posteriors of their captives.
I see. I can see that. I can see that.
And then finally we get to the shunting.
The shunting,
which is what that is.
Yeah, it is the shunting. And that was an interesting way for them to kind of wrap up the society classes.
Literally
literally wrap up as they morph together. But that was just, I'll tell you, for anyone who has not seen Society, or maybe it hasn't popped up on their radar, I don't know, quite the ending to that film will definitely surprise you the first time you see it. It's well worth checking out. Another film directed by Brian Yuzna, and it's an excellent 80s horror film. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's two movies, right? It's the pre-shunting, and then it's the shunting.
The shunting, yeah, it really is. It really is, because you sense that there is something coming, right? Yeah, I mean, there's this class difference between the rich and let's say the less rich, but the shunting that takes place at the end of the film it's quite a sight to behold. It really is.
When I see it, I always think of the original ending of Dr. Strangelove with the pie fight.
Oh, there you go.
And so in my mind, like, over top of the shunting is "We'll meet again."
That's good stuff.
So I gotta ask you, when you were formulating this, whatever, did you get a Matt say, I want the shunting?
I did not say that to Matt. No, the shunting aspect of it was actually his idea, that he wanted to bring to the piece, and I was totally on board with it when I saw what his plan was for it, and I was really happy with how that poster turned out. It did, like to your point with the Ray-Ban sunglasses. I mean, it screams 80s, but it also captures all the important elements of the film. Really, really great poster for that movie.
Well, one thing we talked about at that time was how much more accurate it is to the film than the film's own original poster was.
Oh yeah, the original poster to that film was very misleading.
Yeah,
you had the beautiful woman without the face. And
yeah, it was like James Bond meets like
yes,
strange facelift, I suppose, because he's standing back there in like a white dinner jacket.
There's like a James Bond pose in the background. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I mean, because I remember as a kid seeing it. It wasn't when I rented as a kid. I did not come to society until being an adult, which is probably for the best.
It's probably for the best. Yes.
Not a family movie, I would say. Maybe it is. I don't know people's lives. But of all the posters, I think in the show, it is the strangest film.
Yeah, it's one of the strangest films that I've created posters for sure. But it's so unique, and I'm really thrilled to have worked with an artist the caliber of Matt Ryan Tobin on such a obscure property as that. And when I say obscure, I mean certainly it's known amongst diehard horror fans, but casual fans not so much. But it was he was so excited to jump on that one and do it. And to this day, I don't believe there's another alternative movie poster for Society that's out there.
I'm going to say no. I don't know. Society has a huge market. I'd like to see a stuff one. That's one I'd like to see.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I do own a jar of the stuff.
Of the stuff? Yeah. That would be a good one to do, no doubt.
Yeah. I love that one because it's so low budget too. That film.
It's classic.
Also on that wall we have Fargo on that wall, to stick in this theme of human beings being awful.
Fargo, I mean, dude, what a tremendous movie that is. I mean, a huge fan of the Coen brothers. And when I had the opportunity to work on Fargo, I jumped on it. And I'll tell you, there's quite a lot to talk about with that poster for sure. It's give you some interesting tidbits about what went on behind the scenes with that poster. So, Jonathan Burton, his illustration style is spectacular. You look at a poster that he does and you immediately know it's a Jonathan Burton poster. I mean, it just stands out right away. And so what we did with that is we started off with a couple of different approaches. And the first one was we wanted to try to do like a Norman Rockwell type take. And we had Frances McDormand's character front and center, with her likeness being used with the gun pulled, but we had it look like a small town. And obviously Fargo was a small town, but we played off those small town vibes. And so we had this horror that was kind of wrapped in a package that wasn't so scary on the outside. And it looked tremendous. But Frances McDormand, this particular one was a studio contact as far as getting her approval for anything. And she just outright refused to approve anything, period. It didn't matter what it was. And to give you the next step in this story, we redesigned the poster and we ended up using, the wood chopper, the legs, with the tree chopper. And we only showed Frances McDormand's character from behind. So all you could see was a bulky coat. And the studio would not move forward with that without her approval, even though there was actually no likeness used. And she would not do it. She wouldn't have it. She wanted nothing to do with it. So because of that, we had to redesign again. And so the third poster is actually the poster that you see in the show today.
Okay.
So we went back and we ended up focusing on William H. Macy, and what was going on with his character at the time. And we included a bunch of Easter eggs in the poster showing some of the scenes that had just happened with the kidnapping and everything else that went on in the house. And so it was a very different take from what we originally set out to do. Still turned out great, but it was an interesting experience. Earlier in the conversation, I mentioned that, I've been fortunate that I've been successful in getting all these likeness approvals. And I guess I should put an asterisk there on the likeness approvals that I've sought myself. Those that I wasn't able to speak with Frances myself, that was through the studio. So I had no direct contact with her. I would like to think that if I did, maybe, just maybe, I could have persuaded her into allowing.
She seems like she has a very interesting personality.
She definitely does at that. She definitely does at that.
I'm going to let interesting, the word that means nothing, lift all the weight there.
Yes, leave it at that.
Also on that wall, we have the Laurent Daru Silence of the Lambs.
Yes. Really happy with what Laurent did there. He took a very unique take, a concept type illustration, and he showed several of the key moments, of course, leading up to the end of the film as well, but also included some Easter eggs such as the photographs, the Polaroids that are in the image as well. And I was thrilled with what he ended up doing in that image, because it was just different than any other silence poster. Basically, Laurent Daru, what he wanted to do with this, he wanted to, and he said this, these are his own words, he wanted to make a poster that fans could hang on their walls and not have it be so grotesque or so terrifying that they wouldn't be able to hang it in their home. So he wanted to do a classy take on silence, as is his style, and he really delivered with that one. He made a tremendous poster.
We actually spent quite a bit of time looking at that one, because we're talking about like how much detail is in the background.
There's a lot to see, to take in. I think some people don't even see the detail at first glance. It's one thing when you have a printed poster in your hand versus a JPEG on a computer monitor.
Oh yeah.
It's very different. So a lot.
No, like being surrounded by them all today was great, because it's like they're all framed, they're up on the wall, and it was just like good lighting on them. It's like yes.
It's supposed to look. Yes, awesome.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, as a collector, that was one of your fastest sellers too, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a poster that sold out. I believe it sold out within a few hours. When we dropped it. It was there's a lot of interest. There was a lot of interest in that, and it was very successful for us. Yes.
So I'll stick on the artist for a second, because you have another piece coming out by him with Night of the Hunter. I'm fascinated by that film in general for so many different reasons, apart from the most obvious, that it's a one-off by the director. But it's, to me, it's a great gothic horror movie in its own way.
It is. Robert Mitchum's performance in that movie is just stellar. I mean, if you had any other actor in that movie, it would be a completely different film. What he does and the terror he inspires, and his casual use of religion to try to justify what he's doing, and things of that nature. It's a wonderful movie, and he plays a character that has a plan, and he pursues that plan, and the plan is not a good plan. It's an evil plan, and he's committed these acts several times already, as we're led to believe, and he's a very evil man. But that, the iconic love-hate on the hands, and then you look at the poster design too, the puppeteer pose of Robert Mitchum's character there on the poster. It just was another one that I was really, really thrilled with. I mean, Laurent Daru is a true master, and it's always a privilege to work with him, and he never disappoints, in my opinion.
The other thing about that film, if you will, the pace that he moves at reminds me so much of like the 80s franchise monsters, right? It's this slow, deliberate force.
Yes.
Right. He doesn't run either. Like Jason doesn't really run. Michael Myers doesn't run,
runs.
But neither does he.
Yeah, he does not run. Yeah, he's very methodical.
And I mean, I can't imagine being tasked with coming up with a concept for a poster from that one either, just because there's so many moments in that film. Like the one that sticks to me, of course, is the kids on the in the canoe or the dinghy, and like the night sky is also the water, and you're just like you're floating in space.
It's a tremendous scene for sure. Absolutely. It just like to your point, I mean, there's just so many great scenes, and that image too, the image in the water of the car submerged with the lady, deceased in the vehicle is a haunting image too. Mm-hmm. There's that's just one of many, to your point, that are very memorable. But I was really happy. I was really happy with the final design of the poster.
No, it's a gorgeous one, and it's another one that you need to look at longer and longer, I feel like.
Yes, and I'll also throw out there that those will be wrapping up printing very soon here. So expect those to be in customers' hands within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Excellent. Going back then to Silence of the Lambs, because you have several Silence of the Lambs. You have another one that just came out 6 months ago.
Yeah, about that. Well, it's this year being 2021 is the 30th anniversary of the film, and it's we have some major releases yet to come. I know that you're aware of some of these, but I mentioned the Rice Cooper. Yep. There's going to be a 18 by 36 poster by Rice Cooper that's going to be concept based, and then we have
gorgeous.
And we also have our first collaboration with Juan Carlos Ruiz Burgos, which is a likeness-based poster. And it does include Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. Okay. And Jodie Foster's likeness was also cleared for the poster.
Have I paid for this one yet?
You have.
Okay, I have paid for this one. Good.
But we have Scott Glenn in this one as well.
Okay.
And we have Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill. So it is definitely a heavy likeness centered poster. And to celebrate the 30th anniversary, we're going to be releasing both of those posters at the same time. And, so that'll be coming up here in the near future. There'll be a big 30th anniversary celebration release from us.
All right. I'm going to have like a wall of Silence of the Lambs, I feel like.
It's one of those films that kind of like to your point about Night of the Hunter, there's so many different things you can do with it, right?
Oh yeah.
And you referenced the other poster I had done. We worked with Greg Ruth to do a Jodie Foster centered poster, just focusing on the moment where she takes the shot.
I have the night vision one of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that one turned out really great as well. It was a lot of fun, and we're spacing out the silence releases, but being that it's the 30th anniversary, we will have those two major releases yet to come this year.
Okay. That's exciting.
We think so.
I think so. Well, it's interesting because I'm working on a project on 90s horror right now myself, and of course next year 2022 you'll have the 30th of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
That's true.
Just to throw that out there.
Just to throw it out there, right? Big fan of that movie. Would love to do a poster of it.
I have a lot. I have a whole chapter written on it. It's 47 pages long.
Wow, 47 pages. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I have a lot of it's funny to go back to it too, just because of all the practical effects in that film. But that's a different story. So yeah, so big silence here. That's some news coming out here.
Definitely.
And then if we continue sort of like our tour here, we've got the we've got the creature feature wall next, which has has the Killer Clowns from Outer Space poster, which I am a massive Killer Clowns from Outer Space fan. Spirit Halloween this year has the cotton candy cocoon that writhes with legs sticking out of it. And as soon as I saw it, I sent it to Juan. I was like, I just need this.
I haven't seen that yet, but it sounds like something that would interest me.
like, just skeleton here, cocoon here, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a Killer Clowns is such a fun movie. I believe the poster you guys have is the version we did with Rice Cooper. We also have another Killer Clowns we did with Timothy Pittides. Very different posters.
Yes.
Very happy with both of them. Very different takes. Timothy took more of a concept take on the poster, and did a great job with it. And then with Rice, we wanted to focus on actually drawing the sinister clowns, and we did a collage of the clowns from the movie, and it's menacing. It's definitely
Timothy's is more like a circus poster.
It is.
It's like an ice cream cone
with
the earth is a skull, and
exactly.
I own it, so but then you have the different variants through the star colors being different with the metallics.
We did do that. We did gold stars, and we did a foil as well. That one.
And this one glows in the dark as well.
The Rice Cooper one, yes, we did a glow in the dark version on that one. It was pretty low run. I think we did a run of 35 on the glow in the dark versions only, but it has a great glow effect on it. It looks really, really good.
I think you all do the most glow in the dark I've seen too.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of it personally. I don't want to overuse it, but when it fits the property, yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in on doing it for sure. And I think I may have mentioned this earlier in this conversation, but if I didn't, actually, I think I just mentioned the foil earlier. But the Rice Cooper Silence of the Lambs, there is a special glow in the dark version as well coming out of that poster.
You're gonna get like the longest email from me tonight. Just blow up your Facebook.
As you could tell, I'm always happy to talk about posters with someone who's also passionate about posters. So I've got a lot.
That's also delightful news. I can already imagine what is going to glow too. So. Since I've seen the poster.
Yep, absolutely.
So then we get to our massive Richard Hilliard collection. We have a transition with a Guyver into his own room.
Yes.
Which I wanted, I thought, this is a perfect creature moment to turn into his space here. Another really obscure choice.
Richard is, Richard, I know that you're friends with Richard, Matt, and, I'm very good friends with Richard as well. And, we've developed a really good working relationship and have produced quite a few posters together. His style is different from a lot of the other artists that are working today, and it works really well with horror properties. And as seeing in the gallery show, you've got quite a few of our Richard Hilliard pieces in the show, and a lot of diversity of properties in there too. I mean, the horror theme is common, of course, but diversity from Mario Bava's Black Sabbath to the Curse of the Demon, and then to even more popular or more well-known titles such as The Exorcist.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Absolutely.
He it's interesting in talking to him because he also works with Vinegar Syndrome.
He does a lot with them, yeah.
And he wants the obscure stuff. He doesn't want the mainstream stuff unless it's Adam West Batman. Then he wants that.
He's a huge, as you probably know, guy's a huge Batman fan.
Yeah.
I'll say that, I'm a Batman fan as well, so I can understand it. But
have you heard his story when he met Adam West?
No, I haven't heard that. I have not heard that.
He blacked out.
That's probably why I haven't heard it.
Yeah, he doesn't remember meeting him. He took his life-size Adam West to meet Adam West and got it signed. Adam West apparently offered to buy it.
Wow.
Because it was like a really obscure one, but he blacked out.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that story, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I have to bring that up to him.
Yeah. I do love that Exorcist. My absolute favorite Exorcist poster. There are so many Exorcist posters out there, and by far and away, I think is the absolute best Exorcist poster. I like the conceptual one that you did too.
God Machine.
Yeah, God Machine did it. I like that one too. But I mean, I'm a huge icon for The Exorcist.
It's one of the best horror movies of all time. I mean, it's definitely top 5 in my favorite horror movies, and it's one of those movies I never get tired of watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you know, Exorcist is a property that I'd be more than happy to you know, break that rule of not, you know, just finding the obscure properties out there. I'd be more than happy to work on Exorcist, you know, every year.
Exorcist 3.
10 years. You know? Yeah, it's great stuff. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I because there have been a lot, especially in the last year. There's been a lot of Exorcist posters.
Yeah, there has been.
That one is just the gold standard to me. It's everything I want in a horror poster, and it's got creepy glow in the dark eyes.
Yeah, you know, that the glow in the dark eyes was a really small run that we did of that poster, and they look very menacing when you have the glow effect on. But the poster itself and the painted style of the poster just, you know, works very, very well for the property and just looks scary. Just looks freaky with the cross light shining over the image. You know, it's a really great design.
Yeah, I mean that one really sticks in my mind a lot in terms of all the posters I've ever collected. That one just really is there for. I mean, we all have our favorites, and I know harder for you to say yours than for me to say mine. But that one definitely has always been what I've really liked. And I said the Rear Window is also another, but that's more personal to the movie as well. You brought up Night of the Demon, of course. The great thing with the choice here with the poster is the same choice with the film. You show the demon.
It's exactly, you know, obviously that was a huge controversy when that film came out. I believe it was 1957 that film was released. And, you know, it was a controversy because, you know, I know the director did not want to show the demon, but the studio did. And, you know, so it was a controversial choice, but, you know, it really works for the movie because it sets up from the get-go. It's like, wait a minute, this demon actually exists, right? So there's no guessing. There's no, you know, which, you know, most films are going to keep you guessing for a long time until you see the demon. But yeah, I liked that aspect of it. It was different than most horror movies, and so I wanted to feature it on the poster for sure.
It's like one of the weird Shaku creatures, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, you know, that thing is it's definitely was an interesting model that they used for that in the movie. The poster, we took some artistic liberties to make it look even more menacing, and I think it works well.
Yeah, it's a really cool piece. It's cool to see a poster. Actually, that movie has gotten like a revival of like I've heard more and more people talking about it the last several months. I don't know if it just popped up on Shudder or what, but
it's unique. It's unique for its time, and it's almost like a film noir / horror. And you don't see too many movies that would fit both of those genres, you know. And it's very interesting, very unique.
I do want to give a shout out. It's not a horror one, but it's a great poster that you all put out and that Rich did for you, which is the Excalibur poster.
Yes. That's, you know, I was thrilled with how that poster came together. We did that one for MondoCon a few years back and brought it there. But, you know, great poster. It's printed on some really exceptional paper that really brings out a shimmer effect to it. The red variant is on a red metallic paper, and it's just it looks stunning. I know in Rich's opinion, it's his favorite poster he's ever done. He's expressed that to me several times.
It is an absolutely gorgeous poster. Also in this room, of course, another mainstream movie with I don't know if it's a because I haven't seen it yet. The Candyman reboot coming out a couple weeks here. Well,
right.
People watching it now, maybe they're already come out, but coming out the 24th, I think. I really appreciated that one was on foil because of the role of mirrors.
To me, you know, when we started talking about this project, I knew immediately that I wanted to do a mirror foil. Obviously, it's such a big part of the movie. You know, say Candyman 5 times in front of the mirror, and so you know, wanted to do that mirror foil variant, and you know, of all the different foils, I mean, you know, I'm happy with all the different posters we've released on foil, but this one just really fit the property well because of the subject matter, obviously. and we were able to do the hook metallic as well, as foil, I should say, in the image, and I think it looks really amazing.
No, it works really well. Actually, several people today when we were working on installing it, like stopped in front of that one and just checked it out with the.
Yeah, that's great. Great to hear.
So, yeah, so it's been really interesting for me to watch what people react to.
Oh, I bet
in the whole process. I would feel remiss if I didn't lobby you a little.
Oh yeah.
I want a 1966 to 71 Dark Shadows poster.
I'll tell you, that would be interesting. That would be interesting to do.
Because those likenesses can't be hard to get.
Well, you're dealing with estates most of the time. I mean, obviously not everyone, but mostly estates, and they can be tricky to navigate. It just depends how they're set up, each one. But the problem with something like that, for a property like that, you probably would have to seek each likeness that you want to use. I doubt there's a studio contract out there that includes likenesses of the diverse cast from that series. But no, it would be awesome. And I might be in the minority here, but since we're talking about Dark Shadows, I'll also say that I enjoyed that brief reboot they did in the 90s.
Oh, in the 90s.
Yeah, that was fun. I was so disappointed that it ended so prematurely. That was a fun series.
It came out the same time as Twin Peaks and X-Files, and I think it just got lost in the mix.
It got lost in the mix, but I own it on home video today, and I think it's fantastic. I really enjoy it.
They got pretty far into the original narrative in not too many episodes.
Yeah, I mean, what was there, like a total of maybe 11, 12 episodes?
Yeah, I think it was a dozen.
Yeah.
Now the original, of course, has 1,224.
Yeah, a couple more episodes to tell the story there on the original run. Yeah.
I bring it up to you because I've brought it up to every artist I've interviewed.
You're just planting the seed.
I am. I'm like, this is going to happen
one day. I'm
one
going
way
to
or
get this
another.
Dark Shadows poster. Yes, absolutely. Well, I can honestly say that I would have a blast doing it for sure, and would definitely have interest in doing it. So one never knows.
So one day I'll get that, and one day I'll get a Halloween 3 with Connell Cochran in it.
Well,
and then my poster collection will be complete.
Keep hoping for it. Never know.
Now Brad's like, these are never happening until he's like on his deathbed.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I that one too. I mean, there's certain ones, and I don't know if you feel this way about certain films. I feel like there's certain films that just, I don't know what you would do per se to make a good poster out of it.
Yeah, there's definitely some films out there that are very challenging to come up with a good design for it, and those can sometimes be the most fun to do. Also, can be the most frustrating for obvious reasons. Sometimes that hitting that perfect design just doesn't happen. And you've got to keep at it. But yeah, there are some definite challenges out there. I agree with you there.
So how do you decide what project you're going to get what artist to do?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it varies quite a bit. But for me, I follow most artists that are involved in the alternative movie poster scene and outside of it as well. I've worked with comic book artists as well, and worked with. I have some work upcoming with some traditional poster artists, movie poster artists. But basically, what I do is, I follow these artists, and I'm familiar with their style. And I'm looking at properties to acquire or planning out the next year or the next 2 years or whatnot. And I think about, hey, what would I like to see? What do I think would make a good match? And I pitch it to these artists, and sometimes they're gung-ho and they're excited about it, and other times it's just not a property that interests them. So there's a combination of factors that play into it, and sometimes you have to take it to a couple of different artists before you find that match that's going to work for both parties.
So has there ever been a case too of one you were really gung-ho about? You don't have to tell me which one. When you were really gung-ho about and you loved, it just didn't have the fan reaction you necessarily thought, because this is a community that's very fan nerddom driven.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I can absolutely say that's happened for sure. And I won't get into the specific
Sure.
one, but yeah, that happens. Sure.
I mean, I'm loosely aware of some of the periphery of a couple of things, but I didn't know if there was one you just were like in love with and you were just shocked that everybody else wasn't.
It's I like to personally, I like to put out great designs, and when I even collect personally, I look for great designs, and I don't necessarily focus on the artists. Sure, there are artists that I collect. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Sure.
but at the same time, if a poster is coming out from an artist that I don't know, but it's a tremendous design or a lesser known artist, that does not deter me from purchasing it.
Sure.
And we talked about how people can be very selective in the hobby, and sometimes if an artist doesn't have a large enough following or something of that nature, that the property won't sell as quickly.
Yeah. No, I've seen that, and I mean, if anybody followed the Alamo auction a couple of months ago, you really saw that.
There were some interesting prices in that auction.
I mean, some of them I expected. Some of them I was like, I got that one. If you want to pay that much for it, I'll gladly sell you mine. I'll give you 10% off that.
I'll knock 10% off. Right?
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, no issue there. No issue. Yep.
I was shocked by some of that.
I was too. I was quite surprised by some of them. And to your point, there were some of them I expected to go very high.
Yeah, like the Star Wars ones. I knew were
the obvious ones.
The oily moss.
Yep. But some of the posters that didn't already have a large secondary market value per se compared to the other ones went for very, very large amounts of money.
Yeah. And I was like, guess my retirement fund's stronger than I thought it was.
Yeah, eye-opening, right?
Right. I was definitely surprised by some, and I didn't know how much of that was to support the brand and support Alamo, and how much of that was the fever of the moment and wanting a piece of it, or what.
I think it has to be all the above, right? I mean, certainly the fever and the frenzy of the bidding drove some of those prices up, but I'd say it's a bit of all the above.
And I mean, now we're kind of like speaking as co-collectors here of these things, because it is. I mean, there's so many different galleries and things doing vastly different properties. Obviously, Mondo's cranking out more and more, it seems, and a larger variety of merchandise, which was kind of an unexpected turn, in my opinion. I think of you and wax were kind of at the same time a lot of times, though I have to admit I collect Mad Duck a lot more than I collect waxwork, even though I collect the vinyls as well.
Oh, we appreciate that, though.
Well, you have a lot of crossover artists too,
between
you, and that's why I probably think of you as very similar in that way. But the key to it in my mind is the quality of the product is the same, and it's always consistently the same.
It's that's one of those things. It's been incredibly important to us to put out the best quality prints that we possibly can, working with the best printers out there, and I'm proud of the quality of the product that we put out there. I really am. It's been a big achievement, and we continue to, we'll pay higher prices sometimes just to make sure that we get the quality that we want, and it's critical. It's absolutely mission critical for us.
It's interesting, actually. The painting professor here was framing all the posters, and he actually commented on the quality of the paper to me when he saw me today. So I mean, he's like, even just taking it out of the flat file you sent them in, that you could tell. So just to pass that along, that even somebody who's not necessarily in the scene, just tactily touching it, could tell.
That. Yeah, that's great to hear.
So I guess I'll give you the chance now to spill any other beans you might want to. I don't know how much more I can take. I might just fall flat on the desk here.
Well, there's certainly a lot of different tidbits that I could share. I've dropped several nuggets so far. I'll mention, since you're a big fan of Rich Hilliard, that we do have a new Mario Bava print coming out from Rich here soon. It's for the classic Kill Baby Kill.
Okay.
And again, it's more of an obscure title. It's an Italian film. Great movie, great atmospheric ghost story movie. Excited to get that one out there too. That'll be coming out in the next couple months. We have some really big projects coming that I won't spill the beans today, unfortunately, on, but some really huge projects that nobody knows about that'll be coming out here soon as well. And just excited to continue to produce this product and get this out there to the market for the fans.
Okay. I have to ask too, since I've spent so much intimate time with it of late, where did the design and the name come from? The Mad Duck logo and the title Mad Duck.
So interestingly enough, Mad Duck was a name. This is kind of funny that I'm sharing this with you now. This will probably be, someone will laugh at this for sure, but the original Mad Duck title was created for a fantasy football league that I ran for years, and I still run to this day with the same people. So I had just come up with that title, and then when I was making my way into deciding to actually produce licensed posters and start a company, I was thinking of names out there, and I said, Mad Duck, it's a unique name, and I have some interesting ideas for a logo of it to do, and I'm going to go for this. And so I worked with the artist, Zool 1349, to design the logo. We kind of did a little bit of the sinister duck with a little bit of fun, like the Acme bomb, from Looney Tunes, with the lit fuse on there, and then we threw the monocle on there to show some intelligence to the duck as well, and just kind of wrapped it all up into one package, and it all came together well and just worked out really great for us. We thought it was not only a great logo, but a great name too. And it went together really well.
It definitely is incredibly unique. And as I say, I've been up close and personal with many feathers.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I've gathered here. Yeah. Lots of detailed feathers.
One thing we ask every guest, and since you are a guest, I'm definitely going to ask you, I would like you to tell me a horror blasphemy of yours.
A horror blasphemy.
Yep.
So do you mean something that we've created or something that I've seen?
Now, this is a personal opinion of yours. For instance, my horror blasphemy is Halloween 3 is the best Halloween movie.
I see where you're going with this. Okay, fair enough. Horror blasphemy. It's interesting. I have to think about it though for a second. I just don't have something to come right out and tip my tongue here. But I guess, my horror blasphemy, maybe not so much of a blasphemy for everybody, but while I am a fan of the Friday the 13th movies, and we're actually recording this on the eve of Friday the 13th.
Yep.
And I feel that that series, after about the third film, got incredibly watered down and formulaic. And while a lot of people love it to this day, no doubt about it, and I'm a fan of Jason Voorhees and a fan of all the original concepts and the first films, but the later films in the series they don't have my interest. I have a hard time with them.
Having the last name Jarvis, with that series, I do like Corey Feldman as the kid Tommy Jarvis, but I think that's probably the best one. I think that's 3, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Because they do tend to blend a little.
They do after the first few, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you got the one with in Manhattan, then you're in space. But
I'll say when they did the Freddy versus Jason movie, I liked the Freddy. I know that some people have a lot of mixed feelings about that, but I really liked that one. I thought that breathed some new life into the characters, and having those two cross paths was very interesting. So as far as the later movies, if you want to include that one in there, I thought that movie was really a lot of fun.
Fair enough. And favorite obscure horror?
Wow, obscure horror. I watch, I should say, I watch a lot of obscure horror.
I know. That's why this is going to be a good answer.
So maybe not so obscure to me, but I'm a huge Mario Bava fan, so I'd be remiss not to at least talk about some of Bava's catalog here. Black Sunday may not be considered obscure to everybody, but it is obscure to a lot of folks, and it's one of my all-time favorite horror films. Mario Bava directed and also did the cinematography of that film, and it's one of the greatest atmospheric horror films of all time. And I know that more people are starting to discover it. Mondo put out a poster. We put out a poster, and we'll do another one in the future. But it's just, Barbara Steele is stunning in the film, and really, it's just a tremendous story. And of all the things I could say to you, and I could say another 10 probably without hesitation, but Black Sunday is the one that I'm going to name.
It definitely is one of the better horror movie beginnings too.
Oh yeah. Well, what a beginning that is. Yeah, it really sets the stage for that movie, doesn't it?
Nobody's done the obvious poster for that, in my opinion. Which would just be like to look out through the eyes from the mask that's crushing, and just have like the eyes
and the mask.
Yeah. And the rest just be like darkness.
That would be interesting.
Out there. You can use that if you want. It's fine.
Do you need any kind of a royalty percentage? If I
just send me a poster.
Fair enough.
It's a really an excellent choice in film. We actually I teach a horror class here, and that I do use that film every semester that I teach it.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. I'm a big fan of the Italian horror as well.
Oh yeah.
Whether you want to talk about Argento or Fulci, or any of those directors. I mean, very interesting bodies of work. Some lesser known gems in there for sure. But from both of those directors, I mean, with Argento, Suspiria is a classic and absolute masterpiece. And then, with Fulci too, whether you want to talk about The Beyond, which is my personal favorite, or Zombie, or Zombie 2, if you want to call it that, it's a movie you're not going to forget anytime soon. That's for sure.
That's funny. I was actually watching The Beyond last night.
That movie is just, no matter how many times you see that movie, it's a visual roller coaster ride is what it is. It's eye candy. It's a non-linear story, but the eye candy in that movie, the scenes in that movie, they're unbelievable. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for spending some time with us, and thank you for partnering with us to put on a show of Mad Duck's horror posters.
I am, first of all, thank you for having me. I was really happy to join this podcast and talk about some movie posters with you, and some horror movies as well. And also very excited about the gallery display you guys are hosting, and really excited for the opening.
Our great pleasure. And thank you all for watching with us. And as always, stay spooky.